Hey, folks. It's the Reformation Gun Club online hangout for November 2020. And hey, look who has joined us. I'm going to go ahead and bring him in instead of doing the preliminaries because I know he can't stick around for very long. So the pistol packing Padre from the land
Good
of
evening.
Lakes. How are you, sir?
I'm doing really good. I'm a little sore.
Uh-oh.
Today I acquired a new safe, so I'm happy about that. My old safe was 22 inches wide. This one is 36 inches wide.
Nice.
So I'm a little sore. Unfortunately, the place that I had purchased it from, I figured, they sell safes, so they'll have a forklift to lift it up and put it in the bed of the pickup so that I could just back up to the porch and put down some 2x4s and wheel it into the house. Oh, no. Oh, we're going to bring it out on a hand cart, and the three of us are going to lift it up and slide it into the bed of the truck.
Oh, God.
And so the whole time I'm driving home, I'm praying, Lord, please help me figure out how to get this thing upright because it weighs at least 500 pounds, probably closer to 6.
So how did you get it out of the back of the truck and into the house?
Well, I managed to get it flipped onto the side by myself.
Okay.
And as I slid it off. I had slid it so that the pallet end was sitting on the porch, and I'm sitting here with the 2x4 wedged under there, trying to get enough leverage to get it up so I can get it up the rest of the way. And just about that time, one of my church members drives by and says, "Hey, Pastor, you want a hand with that?" So
yeah,
I did. So not counting the driving time, it took me about an hour and a half to get it from the truck to where it's at right now in my study.
Oh, fun times.
Yes.
Well, I hope you're not in traction Sunday.
No. This is going to be helping me tonight.
Good
Old
choice.
Smoky Mango Habanero.
Ooh.
Yes. I'd never heard of this stuff. And then Father Larry Bean, if you, of course, you know who Larry is.
Right.
He wrote an article, I believe, for the book.
He did?
Yep. So he had mentioned that on his Facebook page, and I tried it, and it's really good.
And there's our friend Dan Velt, who is repping the book for us. Who has
How you doing, guys?
Good. How are you, sir?
Got mine this week. Digging into it.
Very good. And that was one of the things I wanted to bring up. I'm gonna drop you guys back out for just a second because the new book is available. It's called Duty to Defend, and I'm really proud of it because it includes the work of some amazing people like our own Pastor John Bennett, but it includes the aforementioned Reverend Larry Bean, Richard Boland, Tyrell Bramwell, Reverend Paul Kane Jr., Evan Gegline from Table Talk Radio, the Reverend Robert McCandless, Gavin Mize, who has been a guest on this show and who is the host of the Cross-Eyed Christian podcast, the Reverend Tab Ottmers, Jason Reed, and my own Pastor Thomas Stark, as well as there's a transcript from my interviews with Pastor Brian Wolfmueller of YouTube fame and Table Talk Radio, and my former pastor, Ralph Abernathy, who we got a chance to sit down early in the show a couple of years ago to talk about gun-free zones. Now, let me get everybody back in here. All right, here we go. So, thank you all so much for being here today. Let's see, we got some comments, and I wonder if they're... Hey! Jason Brown Shooting Sports. It's a gun bench. What's he... he's probably referring to... I don't know what he's referring to. I guess he's referring to your efforts to get the safe into the house. And then our good friend Edwin. Edwin, thank you so much for tuning in again. All right, so I know we don't have you around for long tonight. Oh, hey, what are you drinking tonight? What's your
Tonight it is some
it's happy hour here at
Colville small batch.
Good deal.
All right, I'm gonna have to make a list of all these things as potentials. I'm
going to write that down because if Dan's drinking it, I'm sure it's good.
Pastor Bean had posted a picture of something he discovered. It was a combination of a whiskey that tasted like peanut butter. It was a peanut butter flavored whiskey, and then Combined with something that tasted like chocolate. He said it's like drinking alcoholic Reese's cups. I actually took a screenshot of it just so I could go to the store and find it. I can't remember.
How bad could that be?
It can't be bad. That sounds amazing. Thanksgiving coming up next week, and states deciding again that hey, maybe you shouldn't be hanging out with your family and celebrating the holidays because what have you got to be thankful for? It's 2020, for crying out loud. What are your plans, Pastor? What's traditional for the Bennett family?
Usually we get together with my in-laws. However, my in-laws, because of their age and my father-in-law with his emphysema, they're very concerned about the virus, as are we if they were to get it.
Yes, absolutely.
We're pretty sure that we have all had it, but we don't believe in this testing nonsense because then you got them calling you nonstop for all this contact tracing crap. So we haven't been tested. And at this point, my in-laws are saying once the vaccine comes out, we'll get the vaccine and we can all get together again. So
excellent.
Yes.
Very good. Very good. Dan, what about you? What's traditional for your family?
Traditional, my wife and I kind of tag team on putting together a good dinner and having some people over, and we're gonna do that again this year. But when they announced that we had to limit family gatherings and everything else, I was this close to caring, and we're gonna do Thanksgiving.
I almost cared about that.
I am so tempted because our governor has done the same thing, that trying to tell us that you shouldn't have, more than 3 households, and you should all wear your face diapers when you're not chewing or something. And I was so tempted just to, invite 20 random strangers at Walmart to come join us for Thanksgiving, just to shake my fist at the petty tyrant.
Whenever you brought up the face diaper thing, I started calling it that recently and doing it loudly in public in front of my daughter so that it embarrasses her. She wanted to go to the store the other day, so we went into Five Below and then went into some makeup store. And as we get to the door, the first thing I do is I say, "All right, activate face diapers," and I say it as loud as I possibly can.
Nice.
We don't stay at the store very long that way. Dan, I cut you off. I am so sorry.
Oh, no worries. A lot of people have a lot of different views on this, and if people are concerned, by all means, you can certainly quarantine yourself in your home if that's what you feel is best. And if you're going to do that and you want to celebrate Thanksgiving and you need some supplies, I'm the guy to run to the store for you. I will get your stuff. I will lay it on your front porch and everything else. But as we're having this conversation, please don't ask my opinion, because I'll tell you.
Right. Exactly. Don't ask for my opinion unless you really want it. Yeah. We're in Texas. We're 1,000 miles from family, so it's always just the 4 of us. Ham and turkey and all the fixins, and so we don't worry about having a ton of family over or friends. So we don't have to worry about that. They're safe back at home in North Carolina, and we don't have to worry about that. But yeah, to echo what you said, Dan, if you're and John, you as well, if you have family members who are in that age range where it's a danger, it's a potential issue for their health, then by all means, you know best, make your best your decisions that are best for your family.
Welcome to America.
Oh my goodness, we have a Facebook user in Edinburgh, I'm going to guess. I'm thinking it's Scotland. Is Edinburgh
Nice.
Scotland? Nice. Welcome. Good to have you here. And top of the morning to you. Okay.
Excellent.
Jason clarified his comment earlier. I'm saying leave the safe on the side and call it a gun bench. I'm too old fighting. Yep. I'm with you there, Jason.
I like that.
You got the only problem is you got to be careful when you open the door that it doesn't, fall out and smash your toes.
Yeah,
that's bad.
All right. Did anybody see the press conference yesterday with the Kraken that was finally released?
Yes.
The Kraken. Because,
hey, we have a new hockey team in Seattle called the Kraken.
That's true. That would be exciting. Yeah, that press conference yesterday was
let loose some hockey players on them. Yeah, there you go.
That's the Kraken I would rather be talking about. That is a cool logo, and that's going to be a fun team to watch because they're going to be instantly good.
Hockey is my favorite sport of anything.
Well, and having a team in your hometown that's, like I said, it's going to instantly be good because with the salary cap situation the way it is and teams like trying to offload contracts, the Kraken are in the perfect position to say, you don't want to pay that multi-million-dollar contract, you can send him to us. We'll take a first or a second round draft pick and help you out with that salary cap problem. And they're going to be in the playoffs first year. I guarantee it.
That would be nice. Hey, growing up in Minnesota, that's what I did. I mean, you grew up in Minnesota, you play hockey. What else is there?
That's right.
Yeah, I live in Minnesota, but since I grew up in the Los Angeles area, I just learned to, dodge bullets and gang members growing up. So,
so you could be a goalie.
I'd probably be dodging the puck just out of natural instinct.
Right. That's probably not the best play.
I'd be the world's worst goalie.
Our Scottish friend confirms it is Scotland indeed, and but he's a California refugee to Arizona who got stuck in Europe on. Oh no!
Oh wow!
Oh.
At least it's in Edinburgh, so there's good whiskey, right?
Yes,
indeed.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
There's Scotch.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
Scotch.
Yeah, true.
With Scotch whiskey, WHISKY without the extra E there.
Right. Somebody else commenting or following up on our hockey comment. It happened to the Vegas Golden Knights. Yep. That's
yes,
why
it did.
I fully expect it's going to happen in Seattle this year or next year. It is next year, right? 21-22, right? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if they'll let us play games and stuff.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing is there going to be another season before then. Yeah, who knows? With all the craziness, what is going on in your respective states now that we're having the Dan, you're in Washington State, for those who don't know, and of course, Pastor, you are in Minnesota. What are your states doing about the current outbreak or the increase in cases? Are they reinstating lockdowns? Are they talking about mask mandates? Seems like we've been through this before, and here we go again.
They're panicking.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it from this perspective, because it's happening in my state. I've got a horrible governor.
Yes.
I believe that a lot of this is just political theater in an effort to deprive Trump of any credit for the vaccine. So that's, I was tempted to wear a tinfoil hat for this, just, so we could talk about conspiracy theories and,
oh, that would be fun.
yeah, but I didn't want to waste
I need to
tinfoil.
wrap the hat in tinfoil for the next time.
But
Just for that.
with the people in the state, it seems like half the people are thumbing their nose at the governor, and the rest are somewhere on the spectrum between cowering and fear and well, this is what we've been doing for the last 8 months. Let's just keep doing it. So he canceled. Well, I shouldn't say canceled. He said that all youth indoor sports were postponed for 4 weeks.
That's terrible.
And yet I'm a school bus driver, and I was driving a bunch of volleyball players yesterday. So I think they basically were saying pound sand to the governor. So good for them.
Follow up from our Scottish friend. Good Scotch, 5 different general regions. I don't like the peaty flavor of Scotch.
Oh, come on. I love a good peated malt.
Like drinking smooth dirt. I love it. Got stuck in Spain, then France, now in Scotland. It could be worse. You could be in Italy. Too expensive to fly home. Or you could be in California, which is, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's getting to the point where it's hard to tell the difference between California and Cuba these days.
Yeah.
That's what they want to do.
And I love Gavin Newsom with all the restrictions about gatherings again, and then he gets caught in a group of 12 inside without wearing masks. What a complete and utter moron.
Yeah. One of them was like a commissioner for some statewide healthcare organization as well. It's like, so how serious is this virus? What's that, Dan?
It's a business dinner.
Yeah.
So it's essential. And as long as it's essential, now the rest of you that are trying to work and get a paycheck to support your family and feed your kids, that's not essential. You don't need to do that.
You're not essential. You're just a peon. Yeah. That's how it works. We started talking about the Kraken, got sidetracked by hockey, which is exponentially more fun. But that reminded me when you started talking about conspiracy theories. What I felt like I was listening to this gigantic conspiracy theory when I was watching that press conference. What was your reaction to it? What do you think of what's been presented and the motivations behind it, and what's going to happen going forward? John, I'll let you go first.
Sure. I look at so the claims that were made, and I can't remember her name right now for the life of me, but that's fine. That between these two companies, Dominion and Smartmatic, that the software was developed under Hugo Chavez's direction for the express purpose of electronically manipulating the vote tallies so that things would go their way. Now that's, if that is indeed true, then that practically nullifies the entire election because this system was used in 24 states. However, we need to see some hard evidence of that if that is indeed true. Yes, affidavits are quote unquote evidence as far as the law sees it. In a court of law, you have someone who's sworn under penalty of perjury that these things are true. I think what people are looking for is some sort of material evidence demonstrating the veracity of these claims. Because unless there's any material evidence, then all these are conspiracy theories.
Yeah. Yeah. Dan, what do you think?
Well, the election hasn't taken place yet. The election takes place when the electors come and give their votes. Now, the Constitution, I think, is a beautiful document. It covers stuff like this. It has contingencies. It tells us exactly what we need to do. And President Trump is exercising his rights under the Constitution to dispute the election. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I've talked to one or two, but when they sit in front of a judge, they need to give some evidence. Now, if I was
a lot of evidence,
if
these
I
are
was a
huge
lawyer,
claims.
I wouldn't tell anybody what I had until I got in front of a judge.
Right.
Now, They
Yeah.
may have the evidence, and they may be able to pull it off, or judges might look at them and go, "Oh, cool story, bro, but it ain't gonna work."
Right.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. So, it's gonna play itself out. I'm not getting all hot and lathered about anything. I would like President Trump to win the election, but I don't know if it's possible. If they can prove to a judge or to a group of judges that, oh man, this was really messed up, and they have some real evidence that a good judge is going to recognize, then groovy. But if Joe Biden won this fair and square, hail to the chief. He's our new president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll find out.
If indeed there is irrefutable material evidence and they aren't revealing that, well, that is really the proper legal tactic in this sense, because you don't want to show your cards to your opponents and then allow them to prepare for a way to somehow refute that evidence.
Right.
It's also, all this nightmare that, and of course, 2000, that wasn't, too long ago. I can remember when it took 38 days before you had one of the guys finally give up.
Let me look at this Chad.
Yes.
Is it hanging or is it?
Oh, that was brutal.
Oh, that was awful.
But there was this a division, when they were drafting the Constitution, that there was a certain number of representatives there at the Constitutional Convention that wanted to have the president chosen by the legislative bodies of the individual states rather than having the electoral college system. Personally, I would much rather see that be the process. You look at just how many people were terribly annoyed at the constant text messages and junk emails throughout this last election process.
So glad that's over.
All the money spent on all the ads and all the campaigns and all the nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
How much better would our system of governance be right now if our president and vice president were chosen by the legislative bodies of each individual state? People would say, well, then you're not being able to vote. Well, yes, you're voting for those representatives who then elect the president.
And you're voting for the government that's closest to you, which is the most effective, and that's the key. I think we've gotten a long way away from some of the founders' vision of what our government should work like. I mean, the Senate originally was supposed to be selected by the state legislators, not directly elected by the voters, and that we've bastardized that system.
Right. Well, that was the compromise that came out of that division between how do we elect the president? Is it the legislative bodies or is it, this electoral college system? So that was the compromise. And then what was it? Was it the 18th Amendment? I think it was the 18th Amendment that allowed the Senate then to be voted by popular vote within the state, which is just a terrible idea.
Didn't know there was going to be a quiz.
Oh, you're not going to make me think, are you?
You're going to make me look this up. All right, let's get a couple of comments.
I'll look it up because I'm probably wrong.
All right, let's go with 18. Jason, material evidence is the key. You don't need it for your faith, but it's what builds faith in people. Yes,
sure.
For the kind of claims that are being made are just gigantic. They're talking about, Sidney Powell is the name of the lady. I did look that up. Sidney Powell is claiming that this system is being used to rig elections across the country. If that's the case, it undermines our entire system of elections, and basically calls into question every election we just had. That's really damaging and dangerous stuff. And if you can't back that up with hard material evidence. Now, I thought about this earlier. Yeah, a lot of those, remember Giuliani, his shtick at the beginning was to point out, well, we've got evidence of this and we've got evidence of that, and we have evidence of these naked ballots not being checked against the signatures, and we have evidence of people being allowed to cure their ballots, and we have this and that. I have no doubt that all of those things happened, What I have a doubt about is where I'm not as convinced yet, is that there's enough of that to overcome the difference in the vote tally. I have no doubt that happens every single election in some small amount.
Always has.
When there's 150 million people voting in record numbers this year, I have no doubt there was vote fraud at some level. Was there massive vote fraud? That's a huge hurdle for evidence that you've got to overcome.
Prove it.
Yeah. It seems to me that a lot of people are wanting to believe in the probability that best suits what they're hoping the outcome would be. So yeah, as Sidney Powell was saying that, we're pretty sure that Trump got at least 80 million votes. Well, yeah, I'd love to believe that, but
prove it.
Again, prove it. And I was wrong on the 18th Amendment. I knew I disliked the 18th Amendment for a reason, because that was prohibition.
That was prohibition. I thought
it was a 17th Amendment.
Familiar. I was like, should I look it up? I'm not entirely certain.
The 17th Amendment was the direct election of senators. So both horrible amendments, in my opinion.
Yes. Let's drink to the end of the 18th Amendment, shall we?
Yes.
Hallelujah.
Well, that's already happened, but we can keep celebrating the end of the 18th Amendment
every day of the week. Another comment. I've got another comment from Jason I want to get to in a second, but first, Facebook user. I would assume this is I wish we knew who this was. This may be our Edinburgh, Scotland guy. What hilarious shirt are you wearing, Dan?
Here, let me back up so you can read it.
Oh, it's my shirt. It
is your shirt.
It's my shirt.
Are you ready? Stand by. Beep. What just happened?
Yep.
That's IDPA every time I go.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, and I'm glad you enjoyed it, because I found a video the other day of I was going back through, and I was telling John about this yesterday. I was moving all of my stuff from one drive to another for my Dropbox backup, and it's like 158,000 files. And one of the things I found was a video from my very first IDPA match. Now, I asked people on my other podcast, do you remember that? Do you remember your first IDPA match? Oh my God. There's one stage, and it's all first person, because I got a little hat cam thing.
Nice.
That half the time I had no idea whether it was working. And I wondered why the audio didn't work, because I left the freaking case on it. Okay, so this is how bad my first match was. So I'm going along, and there's a stage where you have to go from one side of the bay to the other carrying a suitcase, right? You're like a Secret Service guy, and you're supposed to be delivering this from one point to another, and you have to cross a street, and there's a bunch of bad guys. And so there's a barrel stack on one side of the bay that you start behind, and a barrel stack on the other, and you have to carry the suitcase in your weak hand, and then engage all the targets, strong hand only, as you're moving. Remember, this is like my second stage ever. So as soon as I'm watching everybody else shoot. Fortunately, it wasn't my first. I wasn't first on that stage. I'd watched some other people do it. I was like, okay, I see what you got to do. And as soon as that buzzer went off, I had no idea what I was doing. And you can see it in the video. I'm shooting and there's
what do I do now?
There's a sequence you had to, back then there was a sequence you had to shoot certain things in. They could require you to do that whole everybody gets two before anybody gets another or a third. That I don't remember.
Sequence? What sequence?
Tactical priority or whatever it was. I hated that rule because I fudged it up every single time. I stepped out into the open and there's all these targets and I'm like, oh crap, who do I shoot first? And you can see it. You can actually see it in my hand. I'm just like back and forth and I shoot this one, then I shoot that one, then I was like, oh, I got to shoot that one again. It was awful. And it's hilarious now, but back then it was not funny. As soon as the buzzer goes off, the brain completely gets wiped.
Absolutely. And I am the biggest advocate to get some serious firearms training from a professional, not from your buddy who's really good with guns and knows them. Get some professional training. It's going to cost you a little bit of money, but it's essential. For really cheap, you can participate in IDPA, and that is going to teach you things that you never thought of.
That's the
it's
great thing.
Training.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who will dispute that it's training, and in a lot of ways, it's not. It is a game, but it will confirm whether or not you know what the hell you're doing.
Yes, sir.
And what shortcomings you have in your training and in your gear. So that's why we often recommend, once a year at least, shoot a match with your carry gear. Go to your local match, take your carry gear, and just to make sure that it all works and you can use it properly. Because if you had to use it and you make the mistakes that I made in my first match, you're in trouble.
Now, there's a podcast that I listen to regularly called Unload and Show Clear that is really interesting and will help you get into.
Where have I heard that? Where have I heard that?
Gentlemen, I hate to interrupt, but I got to bow out at this point. So
nice to see you, John.
Yeah, it's good to see you all, and I wish you all a very good evening. But I have to get going. So,
Pastor, I appreciate you taking the time and. Thank you for taking all the time you did last night recording. We're actually going to episode 243 is actually going to be the first of 2 parts because we ended up recording for over an hour.
Yeah, it was quite a while. Yeah.
And so 243 is part 1 and then 244 is part 2. So you get the week off. And
all right.
Happy Thanksgiving. And thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you. And blessings to you all. Have a good Thanksgiving.
All right. Have a good night.
Thank you, Pastor. Have a good night.
Thank you too. Bye-bye.
All right. So to finish up the point about IDPA, it's just it's not training, but it's a great way to confirm that the things that you've been taught, the things that you've learned, that your skills are there, and most importantly that your gear is in good order. Because
absolutely.
If you don't have a good setup for competition, then it's not going to work for you very well when your life's on the line.
Certainly. And there's a couple ways to look at IDPA. Some people will shoot IDPA with guns and setups that they have developed specifically for IDPA because some things work better. And that's cool. That's great because, like you said, IDPA is a game. But if you're going to pack what you carry every day, oh my gosh, it is going to throw your weaknesses in your face and show you where you need to train real fast. And I love it. It's great. And I do both. I will carry a gun that is set up for IDPA that works, and I will go and run my carry gear inside the waistband.
There you go.
And boy, I tell you what, it shows me how weak I am every time.
Here's Jason again, who is a friend of mine from IDPA. Shoot what you carry. Maybe don't stay in CCP for years trying to find matches with a bumpable. Yes. CCP, for those who are not familiar with IDPA, is compact carry pistol. Is one of the newer divisions, which is strange considering that IDPA was built around the idea of concealed carry, and it took them 20 years to come up with a division that's specific for carry gear and carry size guns. But anyway, that being neither here nor there, CCP is a tough division to try to get a match bump, to actually move up from marksman to sharpshooter to expert to master, because not as many people are shooting that division, which is strange. Again, it's most people are shooting the big the bigger guns, and nowadays people are shooting the cheater guns with the red dots and the rifle things. So, but
cheater guns.
I call it like I see it. If it rustles some jimmies, it's okay.
Oh, I love it. It's great.
But CCP is what the division you would shoot in if you're going to go to the match and shoot with your carry gear. It's a fun division. I had not done it at all until a couple of years ago, and I fell in love with it because it makes you really think about, because you're limited to 8 rounds in the magazine, and you have to plan your reloads or think about where the reloads are going to happen. There's a lot more. The mental game is a little more challenging, and I found it to be a lot more fun because there with the higher cap magazine or the higher cap divisions like ESP and SSP and carry optics, where you have 10+1 in the magazine, there can be stages where you do 1 reload and you're done. I've never shot a stage in CCP where you don't do 2 reloads every single time. You're getting to that third magazine every single stage, and it's an interesting challenge, and I found it to be a lot of fun.
You know what twist I would really like to see? You let someone else load your mags. They could put 2 rounds in it. They could put 8 rounds in it. They can give you an empty mag.
I've seen that done in training where they'll put a dummy in, where the instructor will put a dummy in your magazine, and you don't know when it's going to happen, and then you have to deal with.
We do that all the time. But I tell you what, get into a competition where you don't know how many rounds are in your magazine, and you roll through it. You can't plan. Okay, when I finish this target, then as I'm moving to this one, I'm going to reload. No, you can't do that. That would be interesting.
Yeah, and the IDPA doesn't allow for, like, what do they call it? I can't remember the term, but where the stage, you can't, blind stages where you can't actually see the targets beforehand. I actually shot a match in Iowa where they had a stage like that, where you could walk through and you could see where the targets are, but the black non-threat hands were actually on strings. And so every time they'd close the door after you got your walkthrough and they closed the door, they went and switched which target had the non-threat hands on it.
I like that.
And so you kick the door open, you know where the targets are, but you don't know which ones you're supposed to shoot. I like that. That was a lot of fun.
That's excellent.
And it changed every time they changed shooters, and that was really cool. Let's see. William is our fan from Edinburgh. Someday I'll finally get into IDPA. My only competition experience is GSSF, which is fun. I've done that too. That's where I got my start. It's only stand and deliver, so no Captain Kirk. I wish there was Captain Kirk roles in IDPA. That would be so cool. That would make the sport that much more fun. If I could just like barrel roll between cover, that would be cool.
Tactical fishing vests. I love that.
And William, I don't know where you are in California, but there's some great clubs in California, particularly around the Sacramento area. They host a major match there every year called the Western, which I am dying to get out and shoot, even though it's behind enemy lines. The people that are involved with it are fantastic. And I've seen and heard great things about that match every year. So let me know where you are. Check out Unload and Show Clear, my other podcast. And I've talked to I've talked to a lot of California shooters and match directors, and I'm sure you can find a club near you when you finally get out of Europe, out of lockdown.
Come to Washington. We'll go shooting.
There you go. Let's see. IDPA, from the outside looking in, it's not training, it's training wheels. That's a good point. That is a very good point. That's so true, because I have heard a lot of people say, "Well, it's great training. It's great training." But is it really? It's not. it's great confirmation for whether or not you know what you're doing, and it's a great confirmation for what you need to work on in your own personal training. If you're not into the competition part of it, and you want to go out and find out if what you're training and what you're learning from others, from the classes that you've taken and from the books you've read and the videos you've watched, if you want to confirm that what you think you know, go to an IDPA match, and you'll find out really quick that you probably are not as good as you think you are, and your gear is probably not as good as you think.
Right. I agree wholeheartedly. IDPA is not training at all.
Yeah.
IDPA is going to show you whether or not the training that you're doing works.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
our friend William in
in
Edinburgh is 90 minutes from any IDPA clubs. Yeah, that's still make a trip, plan a trip once a month maybe, or every couple of months. Get out, find it. Yeah, you'll have a ton of fun. And it'll be totally worth it. And then you'll find yourself making that 90-minute drive, every time they have a local match, probably. So, depending on how much gas costs, that might be an option.
Next year, it's going to cost more.
Once you get hooked, once you get hooked on IDPA, it's an addiction that you can't stop. And I know this is weird coming from somebody who hasn't shot a match in over a year, but I've had extenuating circumstances in my defense.
Well, your house getting flooded. Yeah. That kind of sucked.
Yeah.
But the people you meet at an IDPA match, even if you don't compete or don't participate, you're going to have a good time. There's going to be real good people there that you're going to have a good time with.
Yep. And you'll make lifelong friends. If you start shooting regularly. One of the guys who was on the other podcast, the last question I always ask, for those who've never seen the show, the last question that I always ask is, what is it you love about IDPA? And the answer that is overwhelmingly, people are starting to figure out that that's sort of it feels like a cliche answer to say it. So they try to come up with something more philosophical, but most of them will say it's the people. And when you get around people who have that same Second Amendment mindset, and they have the same interests, and you'll find that these are people who will give you the shirt off their back once you get to know them. And if you, I've gone to matches where people will give you guns. My gun broke. Okay, well, here, let me go get my spare. Where else? We had a round table a few years ago, and one of the guys was like, one of the first matches I went to, a guy came out and offered me his $1,200 Kimber because mine broke. Who does that? Only gun people do that.
People do that.
Yeah. And so, and to top it off, this friend of mine who was a guest on the show, he's from Iowa, said, what you'll find out in shooting IDPA is how uncool your old friends are, because you'll make all these new friends in IDPA, and you'll realize really quickly that all of your old friends that you thought were cool really aren't all that cool. Anyway, Jason, poking a little fun at California. I thought it took 90 minutes to get anywhere in California. That was my thinking too, from what I've seen of the traffic in California, in parts of California at least. Your friend Cam Davis wants to know when you're going to put some rounds down range so I can find my comfort carry pistol. That's an interesting. I like that division. The comfort carry pistol. That's what we need. A pistol that you're comfortable carrying. I like it.
Now that's interesting, because Cam is a good friend of mine, and Cam, I will bring a selection to the range. I will pay for the ammo. We can go and we will find something that is comfortable for you.
All right. And this is a big comment that covers our faces. William from Edinburgh. We're looking at February, possibly coming back to the States. After all the election, sadly possible inauguration nonsense dies down, we will bite the bullet and head home. Got to bring the kiddos home to see grandparents. Then it's road trip time to new home state. We'll new homes to find a new home state. Yes, I would recommend. So you're looking at Colorado, Arkansas, Tennessee, South Carolina. See if anything resonates. I will put in a recommendation for my home state of Texas. South Carolina is not bad. I would recommend Arkansas is also not bad. Tennessee is a good place. Tennessee is certainly far, and Arkansas and South Carolina it's certainly far freer than California. Colorado is edging towards. They're better than. I mean, it's freer than California in some respects, but you still got a lot of craziness, liberal craziness in in Colorado. But if you want to find a state that's a lot freer than California, come visit us in Texas. Come check out Arkansas and Tennessee are great, and I hope you find a great place to live. Cam says he wants to set a date to get to the range. I'm with Cam. I need to get to the range, and if I could afford the ammo, what the heck? I was looking.
Absolutely.
I got an email today, and it said we've got ammo in stock. It was from one of the places that I usually order from, and I looked, and it was like $1 a round for 115 grain 9mm.
Ouch!
Like, what?
Oh,
$449 for 500 rounds. It's like, gee whiz. So maybe I won't be shooting a match anytime soon because I'm hoarding the ammo that I've got. I am not. I mean, because it just there's no way I would be able to shoot a match right now. Because all I would be thinking is that's $1, that's $1, that's $1, that's $1. Every time I pull the trigger, I would be thinking about how much it's costing me.
But see, the ammo that I have didn't cost me $1 a round, and the ammo that I fabricate myself doesn't cost me $1 a round. And Cam just mentioned in the comments that we'll see each other at men's breakfast in the morning. Our church has a men's breakfast once a month. I'll see you there, Cam. We will set a date where we can go to the range. I'm bringing the ammo. I have the ammo. Because you want to train and you want to find a gun, it's on me, man.
I'm tempted to go out to the range tomorrow for my local club match and just, I forgot my ammo and see what happens. Maybe somebody will
load me some.
Come on, help a brother out. William says Texas is out of the question because it's a little too hot, like Arizona, and the wife won't sign off on it. I totally understand that. Totally understand that.
Hey, Washington State is absolutely beautiful. If you like to go outdoors, you like to shoot animals, you like to hike, you like to fish, Washington
just not with an
AR-15. Oh, our gun laws suck.
Oh,
my goodness.
Jeez.
They want to take them all away.
On the one hand, he says, move to Washington State. It's beautiful. On the other hand, our gun laws suck. So, yeah, go shoot our animals with a bolt action rifle because that's about it. That's about all they want to allow. Texas, that I will admit. And that 115 degree weather is actually why we're here. My wife hates the cold weather. So when I got a job offer to move to Texas, and I sat down and talked about it with my wife, and she was like, well, what's the weather like? And I told her, and she was like, we're moving. That's it. You sold me. You had me at 100 degrees. Okay. So that was one of the easiest.
Let's do it.
That was one of the easiest conversations I ever had. Let's see. What else was I thinking we would talk about tonight? Hey, gift ideas. No. We'll do that another time. One of the things that we'll do that another time. I've got a show planned for that in the annual gift guide episode is coming up, so we got to do that. So I won't spoil any of that. But one of the things that we talked about and you'll hear in episode 243 And Dan, as a member of the Reformation Gun Club, here's a plug for the Reformation Gun Club. Dan will get to hear 243 and 244. That's already out in one whole big long episode.
Hot dog.
All the whole hour and 10 minutes with no edits is available to the Reformation Gun Club. If you would like access to hundreds of hours of exclusive content, if you would like some cool perks, if you would like to be able to be live on the show like Dan is tonight, then join the Reformation Gun Club for as little as $1 a month. Check it out at armedlutheran.us/gun club or gunclub.armedlutheran.us, whichever you choose. Either way works. We are talking in 243 and 244 about sort of disconnecting from the culture. The culture has become obviously very hostile. It has been for some time hostile to conservatives and Christians. It's become very, very hostile to conservatives lately, especially with all the censorship. And as we got closer and closer to the election, all the blatant censorship that we've seen in social media and the way that the mass mainstream media treats conservatives has been a problem for years. And we talk about the idea of unplugging or disconnecting. It's called The Great Disconnect, is the next two episodes. And we talk about disconnecting from the culture and the idea that maybe the thing to do for us as Christians, as conservatives, as gun owners, is to find a way to disconnect, is to find a way to not completely remove ourselves from the culture, because especially as Christians, we can't witness to the unbelieving world if we completely withdraw from it. But there are ways that, and this is part of the reason that there's 2 episodes out of this show, because the second half of the show we started talking about alternatives and ways that you can disconnect and ways that you can protect your privacy online, ways that you can protect your data, things that you can do, or alternatives to the current system. Different places that you can get news, different places that you can get social media content like Parlay or MeWe, Gun Streamer. Armed Lutheran is a fantastic place to get alternative information. What are some of the things that you do? Some of the ways, Dan, that you kind of disconnect from things? Like for us, we stopped cable years ago, and we took a break from the nightly news, basically. And it's amazing how quickly your life improves just not having all that negative stuff hammering you in the face every day.
Absolutely. A number of years ago, we got rid of cable television. We had just internet coming into the house. And so we can look at the internet news, people who reflect our opinions and see them. But we also have available the people who don't reflect our opinions, but they're very interesting too, because they have something to say. And I don't like to disconnect myself completely, because when I'm standing in the lobby of my church on a Sunday morning, and someone comes in that, oh my goodness, they haven't bathed in days and they look like they're really drunk and they're just really obnoxious. How do I deal with them? I'm not going to kick them out. I'm going to have them sit down. I'm going to make some coffee. In Washington State, we're not allowed to serve food or anything, but I'm going to make that man some coffee, and I'm going to get him some cookies or whatever I can find in the kitchen. And I'm going to sit down and talk to him, because Jesus told me to preach the word of God. He didn't say preach the word of God unless the government tells you should be scared.
Or preach only to the people who agree with you.
Right. And Jesus actually told me that people will hate me, people will speak badly about me, and they will try to kill me. He warned me about that. He warned all of us about that. I'm not inviting that. I really don't want that to happen, but he told me what to do, and I'm going to do what he told me to do.
He told us to expect it, and it's no real. We shouldn't be surprised when we run across it in social media and we run across it. But there's a desire for open forums, free speech, the ability. And one of the things we counseled against in the show this weekend is avoid looking for alternatives that just turn into echo chambers.
Sure. Absolutely.
Right? Because we want to have an alternative, but we want that alternative to be about free speech, where we have a diversity of ideas and we have a diversity of beliefs, and we can talk and learn from each other, and we have an opportunity to share the gospel, whether that gospel is about guns or whether that gospel is God's gospel.
Sure.
We want to be able to, because if we're just talking to ourselves, then those people who are not on Parlay, those people who are not on MeWe, those people who aren't looking for that, who are still over there in the robber baron social media outlets, as Senator Josh Hawley called them, they're not hearing the message. And if we separate ourselves completely from those traditional outlets, then all we're doing is confirming to the media and to the people who don't really know anything about Christians and don't really know anything about gun owners,
right,
that we're just a bunch of weirdo separatists. We're those other people that you don't really want to be involved with. We need to still be involved in the culture. We should find ways to distance ourselves from the culture, like getting away from cable. And maybe one of the things I talked about in the show is take some, get away from the boob tube, spend some time, read a book, read a newspaper. I know they still have those things. Sit down and spend time with family and play games and turn these things off.
Yes.
We spend so much time tied to these things. One of the things that I talked about on the show is how, if I don't know whether you've read Rod Dreher's book, the Benedict Option. Well, he's got a chapter where he talks about technology, and he talks about how that technology used to be in service to us, and more, this is what we are slave to. We spend all of our time on these things and in front of the television and the computer. And it's funny for me to say sitting here in front of a computer, but still, the point is, take some time to get away from that stuff and focus on your family, focus on your church family and your community, your neighbors, and get away from the negative. And it's amazing how just doing that once a week, once a month, every couple of weeks, whatever it takes, find a day and say, okay, no electronics today. I'm going to get away from it.
Okay.
Amazing how much it will affect your life in a positive way.
Sure. Absolutely. And the thing about electronic communication is when I look at my phone, I choose which things I'm going to follow, which news sites I'm going to look at, and everything else, so that I have something that is totally focused on what I believe. And so that is what is blasted at me every day. While that might be interesting and encouraging to me, that isn't necessarily reality. So I need to hear and I need to see things from people who disagree with me. I've been blessed with Christian brothers who have varying beliefs from what I believe. And oh my goodness, we go at it and we argue and we fight. We hug at the end of the night. And
that's something that I'm afraid we've lost in this country. We've lost that's my big fear, is that we've lost this ability, like you say, to agree to disagree, to be able to talk to one another and share differing opinions and to maybe even argue a little bit or debate. I don't think we're debating anymore. I think we're yelling at each other, and then what happens is at the end we say, well, I don't want anything to do with that person because he doesn't agree with me, so we block them or we kick them out of our lives. What we need is more of those people, like you say, who have different opinions, because maybe the opinions that we hold aren't, maybe we're wrong. Maybe there are things that we're missing because, or maybe we're wrong about their opinions because we've separated ourselves from it. And maybe what we need is a little dose of, maybe we need to get outside the right wing echo chamber.
Absolutely.
And listen to the other side a little bit. If for no other reason, just to understand them better. It doesn't mean we have to agree with them. And most of the time we're not going to, but at least we can never counter the arguments that they make if we separate ourselves from them completely and we can't even understand what the arguments are.
No, and engaging in conversation and actually talking to them and asking them questions and letting them ask you questions will teach you something. And for goodness sake, my wife is, I'm sorry, guys, my wife is the best woman in the world. And once in a while, she disagrees with something that I have to say. And you know what? I have to find a way to deal with that. But the thing is, can I turn my back on her? No, she's the best woman in the world. I would never turn my back on her. So I need to try to understand what she's telling me. And I need to try and think about where she's coming from, and we need to deal with it. Welcome to life, guys. That's the way it works with friends, with spouses, with everybody. You talk about it and you try and work it out.
We talk about the disconnect, and you've probably heard us talk about in the past. We've talked about the disconnect in social media, the way it allows us to connect with people in a way that we never thought possible, but we're more and more, we're more disconnected than ever. We don't, because we fail to see that person in social media as actually being human. And it's there because they're just an avatar. They're just an avatar, and they're just characters on a screen. We don't actually see them as people, and we don't recognize the humanity behind that avatar. We don't talk to them and actually share and exchange ideas. We spend a lot of time trying to one up each other and share, humorous memes. And we've, in too many cases, I think we've lost that ability to sort of talk to one another, even when we disagree. There used to be a time where we could debate and we could talk without throwing a humorous meme at one another. I know that may come as a surprise to people, but there used to be a time.
I love humorous memes. I love them.
Who doesn't? But there used to be a time when we actually debated each other and we actually talked to one another, and without trying to one up or get something over on each other or have the last word. If we could, like you said, if we can talk to people who have differing opinions, it's good for us, because even if we, at the end of the day, if that discussion doesn't lead to changing minds, at least it gives us an insight into what the other side believes and why they believe it. And it makes it easier for us to formulate our arguments and and to solidify why we believe what we believe, because at some point those people become sort of inhuman caricatures of a person. It would be better if we could find a way to actually engage in the kind of conversations with one another that Zuckerberg, when he first created, for all the people who want to criticize him, his original idea for Facebook was this sharing of ideas and communicating with one another. And unfortunately, and that's what we need. Yep. But all too often, social media has become a means to kind of dehumanize us and make it possible for us to say things to each other that we would never say face to face.
Right. Absolutely. And the thing is, um, our our government and our representatives are telling us we can't do things face to face. And that's where
Thank you, COVID.
we learn about each other. Online, oh, I tell you what, even with friends that I have known for decades, we struggle sometimes online with disagreeing with each other. So someone that I don't know, we're going to have a real hard time with it. So online arguments are, don't waste your time. Back off, take a break. Face to face, I will be happy to buy you a cup of coffee, a drink, a meal, whatever, if you want to argue with me, because we'll have a very good time and I'll pay for it. And both of us are going to learn something. That's the way it's supposed to work.
That's the way it's supposed to be. All right. Well, we are a little past the top of the hour. And Dan, thank you so much for taking the time to do this and sticking around. And thank you for your continued support of the podcast. I really do appreciate it.
Hey, I love the podcast. Love everything you do.
Thank you, sir. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, and everybody who's joined us.
Folks, thank you so much for being a part of today's show and for sticking around for the whole hour. Thank you to Pastor Bennett for sticking around as long as he could, and to our good friend Dan Velt, and to our to those who decided to share their comments, Cam and Jason and William in Edinburgh, Scotland. That's awesome. Thank you all for listening, and thank you for being a part of the show today. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Edwin Furman from Round Lake Beach, Illinois, behind enemy lines, and a good friend of the show. Thank you for your support, and thank you all for sticking around and listening. Episode 243 coming up on Sunday is going to be an interesting show. We talk a little bit about the kinds of things that Dan and I were talking about here at the end, the disconnecting from the culture, the idea that the culture is hostile to us, and there are ways that we should consider disengaging from it. And then episode 244 next week. The plan was that next week was going to be our variety show, but it's going to be another Clinging to God and Guns show. It's going to be part 2 of what we call the Great Divide. We're going to talk. It's more of a interestingly enough, this was not planned. It's more of a tech tips episode. We talk about ways that you can secure your personal information online, protect your identity and your personal info. We talk a lot about alternatives to things like Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. As much as we love those things, there should be alternatives, especially things that are more conducive to free speech. Ways that we can disconnect from the mainstream media and mainstream entertainment. So we will share all of those ideas and those suggestions in episode 244. From everyone here at Armed Lutheran Radio, thank you so much for listening and for watching. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. I hope you are able, wherever you are, that you are able to get together with your loved ones and you are able to share a Thanksgiving meal and spend time together with the people that are important to you. I wouldn't encourage lawlessness, but in this case, this is the kind of thing where I would tell your elected officials, if you are in a state, you're in a locality that's telling you that you shouldn't get together with your loved ones for Thanksgiving, tell them to screw off and go and enjoy your granny and if you're, do what's safe, but spend time with the people that you love and that are important to you, because we don't know, the Lord doesn't tell us, guarantee us tomorrow. So enjoy the time that you have, make the most of the time that you have. And when you have an opportunity to spend time with family, take a hold of that opportunity and make the most of it. Enjoy your time with your family. To heck with what people like Gavin Newsom say, because you only get to go around this world once before we go to the next. This isn't our home. We're going to end up in a better place. But while we're here, don't waste the opportunity to spend time with the people that are most important to you, and make sure that they understand that you love them. And I hope you have a fantastic Thanksgiving, and I hope you will take a little bit of time and listen to episode 243 and 244, and I will talk to you again. We'll see you again next month sometime. December's, obviously, we've got Advent coming up. We've got Christmas coming up, so it's going to be a little crazy trying to fit in a live show next month, but we're going to do it, and we'll talk about Christmas traditions, and we'll talk about Christmas get-togethers, and hopefully all this election crap will be behind us. Until we talk again, have a great night. Happy Thanksgiving. And what do I usually say? Keep shooting, keep praying. We'll talk to you next time.